Hey, welcome back. Lesson 33, Advancing the Scene, Part 3. Let's get started. Last time we left off, we created the poo drop. There it is, coming down, hits the screen. And let's go to right where it splats and click on that guy. And let's see if we can do like the deformation. Okay, probably not a preset for this, so let's start out here with a save project as. And that way we mess something up, we can just go back. All right, here we go. So we've got the splat and we've got the web here now. So I'm going to go to F11 with it. And I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to go back and forth here. So there's the first frame. It's fine. And let's go ahead 2 frames at a time. And then F11. All right, let's look at that and escape and go 2 more frames. So pretty much I'm hovering and it'll highlight, not necessarily the right one. Haven't really clicked on it. Okay, I just clicked on it and at least it can maybe isolate that center one. All right, so that should create a run. Let's take a look. So there's just 4 frames of it. So let's go back now to the beginning, stop, which is right here. And yeah, okay, so in case that didn't play good for you, it played really nice for me. I'm going to go ahead and close the timeline now and see if this version will play for you. Here we go. Alright. Let's play that splat one more time for you. Okay. And that's what I'm looking for. And then I multiply these for each bird dropping 1. It's going to fill that screen up pretty good. He's going to have a hard time. We'll drop some down on both panels. So it'll take a little while to fill it up. Maybe they could drop a little slowly and then one after another. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, and then we'll work next on multiplying the drops and adding them to the other birds, and then We could work on some flocking techniques and that perhaps for creating groups of seagulls to come in. So let's give it a roll with that. And I would love to maybe take the seagull to Krita as well. Maybe put a couple eyes, little beak or something on these guys. They're pretty plain, so they were kind of a off in the distance feature on the beach, but they're going to be right up front and center here. So maybe we can work on that as well. So a bunch of fun stuff. I wanted to show you here if I hit the F5 button, that's going to open up my scene list, and I can hit the F4 button and there's my content. So that's kind of neat. You can toggle that on and off. And then you're not using as many resources when your screen is just a bit smaller. So let's take it down to this. Okay, and then we left off with making a splat that kind of runs. Okay. And so let's go ahead now and line this up with the bird. It wasn't quite lined up. Okay, so we're looking at the Poo drop. Let's highlight it, and then that will be what we'll see here. Okay. Okay, so I can make it become visible a little sooner and also move it up. Might have to go F11 to move it up a little bit more. Okay, now that might not work, I'm not sure. All right, let's take a look at that full screen. Get rid of the buttons here. It's a pretty big blob. Okay, so it happens pretty fast. It's not like you really can see. But now it's coming from the bird. Okay, cool. So let's do this. So we come in, we got the first bird dropping, and we want to have the second bird drop. So I'm going to go ahead and create a prop, and I'll just have to keep creating the drop, I guess. And then each one will be able to act on its own, I believe. So let's just put it on up there and remove the object animation and shrink it on down. It really doesn't like to be moved as soon as you get it shrunk. Right, so we're in F11 and we just go ahead now. See if we can now make this drop. So we'll move ahead about 20 frames, so 52. All right, let's see if that worked. Okay. All right, and since we put this new drop on it, it's visible from the second you put it in, so you have to make sure and make it invisible and bring it on where you want it. So 42. Maybe it was 52. Okay, come on. 32. Okay, and then we'll make it visible at 32. And now it'll stay visible as it drops. The second one comes down, hits at 52. And need to replace. Okay, so now we turn it off. And in comes a splat. I'm going to try using the splat, but let's save. And I'd still like to hope I can use. Hope I can use this one. Don't want to replace that one, so I need to make sure to. No, it wants to put it right over the top. Huh. Yeah, it's not making a second one. Okay, so unfortunately, not quite sure why I have to keep doing it. That's going to be really difficult. Really going to cause a lot more work. I'm going to try bringing this one in and see. There we go. Alright, so if I go back one frame, you kind of see where the drop is. Let's go F11. That should work. Guess they don't all have to be giant poos, but fill the screen up pretty good. Alright, there we go. So there's that one. And we're going to need to remove the object animation. That way it won't move into the scene. It'll be right there. And let's take a look and see how that'll look here. F11 out. Take one frame forward. The drop disappears. Splat stays. Okay, and then easy enough. F11 this guy. And just kind of run it a little bit. And call it good. And maybe just a little more. F11. All right. Well, let's see if that worked. And F11. Close this guy. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so, and again, let's take this back and make it invisible. And then bring it in at the poo drop. There we go. Okay, let's see if that worked for us. Nice. Okay, we'll continue on with that process. It didn't take too long to make a splat. And you get that little bit of secondary motion. Let's take a look here frame by frame. Eventually we'll get there. Oh my, it's taking forever. There it goes. Alright, so let's look at the secondary. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit. The beginning of the movie will still be intact here. And so sometimes when you bring something into the timeline down in here, it's still visible from the very beginning of the movie. And I'll show you why. If we just click on that and isolate that drop, then you can see that it always puts in this default transform key. And if I show you the whole entire timeline, the action doesn't actually start until right here. And maybe even visibly starts right here. Okay. I just moved the stop. No, I got it. Okay, so that really shouldn't be there. It's always a problem. I'm not exactly sure why the visibility was shut off there, but anyway, let's just go to the beginning of the movie and just turn off that visibility and then come here, and the visibility doesn't start until, and honestly you can just take this one off because you still have visibility off here in the beginning. Okay, so now the bird lines up and there's his drop, you can see it. Okay, so all of that is just fine, and somewhere in here this drop becomes visible early. Let me look. We're on Poo drop 0, that's probably why. So let's go in and just back up. Okay, so let's solve the mystery. We're on the wrong drop. Well, there's the first drop. And if we go to the scene list, we can verify that that's the first drop. All right. And then if we look at its transform, you'll also see that here it's invisible, and here it becomes visible for the first frame. Goes that far and turns into the splat. Okay. And that's when the drop becomes invisible again. You can see up here. And if you blow the timeline up, you can see that it is actually quite a few frames difference here. All right, so we have two splats, and we've gone ahead and fixed this splat up here. So now I would like to work on a couple more birds, and then we'll have this beginning of the scene. And we'll go ahead and run this at high speed. It's pretty monotonous, but I bring in a drop and put it up at the bird and size it. Go back and forth F11. And here in just a minute, I'll go ahead and slow down. As I practice with this, it became a lot easier. All right, I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to keep throwing drops. And it seems to be best to just create this prop each time. For some reason, this prop actually allows me to use it over and over and just renames it. But these aren't working like that. When I created these poo drops, they already have a path in them and everything, and then that seems to have caused it to not be able to be duplicated without coming in with that. I guess I could just remove object animation, but it seems to just go right in over the top of the old one, no matter what bird it's on. So I just abandon ship with that. All right, so let's bring this guy up, F11. All right, let's remove its object animation. Okay. Now this is where we're going to do something just a little different this time. And we get smart about it. All right, so we're on 1248. Let's go to 0 really quick and make it invisible. And then go to 1248 and make it visible. And then let's set a key here. If we can. See if we can make sure we're on the same frame. Okay, so I'm hitting the transform key, and now I'm going to say that I want to add a key, or just hit the V key, which I'll just hit the V key. All right, so now I have a key that will make this be a starting point for the transformation of the drop moving. And so this time when we move it ahead 20 frames, so we'll move it to 68. It's easier to do this one up here. Then we can go ahead and move the droplet down. Okay, and now it doesn't have a key there on 0. We'll just verify. The key on 0 will still be, won't be a movement key now if we did it right. There'll just be nothing there, invisible until it's supposed to be visible. So here we go. The bird is in position. The drop comes. Down it goes. All right, so that's pretty clean by hitting the set key. All right, so now we're at 1268 and we make the drop invisible. And we can go ahead and put in a splat. But I always undo that so that it and then I guess it would probably have been helpful to just go ahead and don't make this invisible until we're done setting the splat over it. Kind of jump the gun there, and then it's harder to see where you want to put the splat. So now let's go F11 here. Okay. And let's not forget to remove the object animation in F11. And now while we're on this transform key, and it's highlighted, we can go ahead and also add a key, or just hit the V. Okay, now this will create that keyframe so that splat won't be moving. And we'll go over here, make sure it's going to be invisible. And the making it move is not so important. Putting this keyframe here makes it say that it's not so important that it's moving because it's invisible anyway. But it gives the starting reference point for where that splat will start to move. Probably don't even need to remove object animation if you just simply come in here and create a keyframe. Other than the object still might sit and be a big blob until it gets moved up onto the screen in the first frame. So, all right, so here we go. We'll go ahead and put the splat right here. And I think we already did. And I just talked my way into forgetting where I was at. Okay, so there's the splat now. Okay, good. All right, so let's do the FFD now on this. We're at 66, 68. It changes to the splat. 69, we can start to do the FFD. And you can see now that FFD layer has opened up too down here in the timeline. And we'll just keep it on. All right, so if you also hit the set key here, you'll see that it starts a beginning point for this. That reduces any problems from it trying to create the transition from the beginning, which is what it likes to do. All right, so now we'll come into F11 and let's manipulate this guy a little bit. And that should do it. Okay. Well, that was pretty excessive. I might just go ahead and move that key and move ahead a little bit more and just F11 again. We can change it if we want. Just make things kind of blob around a little more. Let's just see what happens here. Oop, gotta turn off the key editor if we want to see it. I wonder if they have a preview. Haven't really looked. Okay. Not sure if I'm hearing myself clicking, but I must have moved it forward way too much. Let's take a closer gander at that. Oh yeah, I think so. Okay. So let's move these changes. Really easy. Let's try this. Nice. All right. Okay, this guy, I'm going to make him do another. All right. All right, you know the routine now. We'll make the drop the right size. Pop it on to the bird. Remove the object animation. F11. $12.54. Let's go ahead and make it invisible at 0. $12.54. Make it visible. Oop. 12.54. Hit a set key. And just hit B. And if it doesn't work, click the click there first and add that key. All right, now let's go ahead to 20 frames more and let's drop that drop. Yeah, right about there. It's a pretty good sized drop. Okay, so let's go F11 and we have that drop and it should be good to go, invisible until it's ready to drop. Well, okay, that's good. Now there's 76 and we'll make it invisible and we'll bring in the splat. I'm going to see if I can bring in the splat and let's not make it invisible. We did that last time. Let's do that after. Here comes the splat. And I want to see if it's going to replace the drop. It is. Okay. That wasn't what I wanted to do then. Just wanted to verify that. So let's go ahead and unclick. All right. If I wasn't mistaken, this was 76. I'm mistaken, 74. All right. So here we'll bring this in. And F11. Okay, somehow I've accidentally hit the layers key. I didn't really mean to do that. You want this. That's why I wasn't moving. Okay, I'm going to kind of be right about there. And a little smaller. Okay. All right, F11 that now. Okay, so got the drop. I'll make it invisible now on this frame. And the splat is now visible. So let's see if we can snag it. Okay, and here we'll remember 1274. But we'll go to 0 with this one. And there's our marker right there. Let's go to 0. Make it invisible. And go to the marker. And make it visible. All right. Now let's go ahead a frame or two and work on the FFD. And just F11 here. All right. And let's go ahead, couple frames. Just do a little more. Okay. Call that good. And you can zoom in and see your two moves. So let's close this now. And there's the first run and the second. Okay. And I'd like to get maybe one more here. I think I'm going to take it to this tallest bird. All right, so we'll come in and do another poo drop. Bring it on up to this guy. F11. Starting to get the hang of this. Remove that object animation. And I think this one's the most important to actually set the keyframe for. Anything you're going to do, this one is the one to 1276. We'll click on that and add that keyframe. Okay. And that gives that starting point for the drop falling. And we just might as well do the visibility right, excuse me, right now. So, and giving that keyframe start also makes it really easy to do the visibility. Now I can just come back here and turn it on. It's invisible through the timeline. Okay, so that's an easy way to do it. And so we're at 1276. We'll go to 86 for the drop. All right, and now F11, and I'm going to go ahead of further. I'll make that drop a little slower. It's way up there. And F11. And now we'll bring the drop on down. Everything's too perfect. Needs to fall onto something else here. That'll be so perfect. Okay. Let's try that. All right. F11 that. So there's the drop. And now we can make it invisible here. But before we do, we've got to remember to put in the Poo Splat. All right, so we don't want to replace it, just bring in a splat. And let's go to F11 to see it all. Thank you to Pixabay for this Poo Splat. All right, let's do that. Maybe too big. Okay. And F11 out of there. And let's that should be Poo 4. Let's make that now invisible. Oop. Must be Poo drop 5. Make it invisible. Yep. Okay. So now we just have the splat, which is Poo 4. And let's go ahead into, it'll open automatically, but we'll open this. And it doesn't seem to matter that it makes its own key when you open the FFD, so let's go ahead. You can set the key. All right, let's move ahead a frame or two here and make some modification. Here we go. All right, let's do a couple frames more. There we go. Okay. Take a look at that work. Boy, that's really going to spread. Okay, so here we go. We need to make let's just zoom in a little bit here. So here's our keyframe. And so what we want to do is go to 0. So 1296. Let's go to 0 and make it invisible. And then go to 1296. So obviously there's two different ways you can remove the object animation or just make it invisible until the time it becomes visible. Okay. So now let's double check that. Groovy. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna save this work. And we'll see if we can look at it a little more close up. Hey. All right. Looks good. One more time. All right, now we'll play it and see. Okay. I'm going to save and take another break. And I think I'll advance this scene as well. Hey, thanks for watching. Come on back. We'll keep working on this. See you soon.